Do you have a story to share with the world? Of course you do. We all have stories to share. An Anchor podcast allows you to share your interests in a way that connects to others all across the globe. If you have been considering starting your own podcast and don't know where to begin, Anchor makes it easy to record, edit, and publish with the click of a button. You can even add music. Whether it's crime dramas, self-improvement, paranormal adventures, or tips about parenting, you too can share your unique imprint on the world. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. You've got this. I believe in you. Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tools and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everybody. I am really excited to talk about the topic today. Number one, about signs that you're empathic. And number two, we're going to talk a little bit about the abilities that the empath can have. So I say that empaths can have these abilities, but in reality, anyone can have these abilities. It just seems that the empaths are a little bit more sensitive to these abilities. So first, I kind of want to go through some of the signs that you are empathic. And if you've been following my podcast, you probably are an empath, whether you know it or not, because most of my videos or my episodes discuss information about how to navigate through life as an empath. But I wanted to just briefly go through some of the signs that you may be empathic. So one thing that I used to notice as a small child is that when anyone would cry around me, I would cry. Or if someone was holding in their emotions, I would feel their emotions and I would process through them. So whether that was laughter or pain or crying, sadness, whatever it may be, I would process those emotions. You may feed off of others' energy really easily. So if you're feeling drained and you get around someone else who has high energy, you may siphon their energy. Or if you have high energy and you're around others who are drained, they may siphon your energy. So you may notice that your energy fluctuates quite often. You worry about what others think of you. This is a common sign of the people pleaser when it comes to an empath. We really want to make sure that people are comfortable around us. And oftentimes we will feel depleted because we will go the extra mile to make sure that people are pleased. You feel everything extremely deeply. People may call you sensitive. I know when I was a child, my family would call me the sensitive one. And I kind of took offense to that sometimes when I was younger because they wouldn't really share things with me because they thought that I would have an overreaction or get over emotional or cry. But really, I think what was happening as a small child is I was transmuting those energies being an empath. Friends often ask you for advice. You may notice that people will come in and what I call garbage dump on you. It's where they kind of come in and dump all of their problems and concerns and issues on you. And then they leave the room feeling fabulous. And then you feel exhausted and drained. That is definitely a sign that you are an empath. You have many highs and lows, and you can pick up on the vibes, whether it be with a person or a place, a room, an object, very easily. So sometimes empaths can actually hold an object and feel the energy that it's exuding. I know personally, I can walk into a room and not even have a single person talk to me, and I can literally sense the energy in the room. Weirdly, also, I can shift the energy in the room very easily through my energy or my thoughts directed focus. So we will talk a little bit about those abilities a little later on. Could potentially be a natural healer. Oftentimes, empaths, we have those abilities to not only heal ourselves, but to heal others through, either touching them or just them being in our presence. Social situations leave you physically and emotionally drained. Sometimes the empath can be very introverted. Now, I'm an extroverted, introverted empath. I really do enjoy social settings and connecting, but I also enjoy my introverted side as well, where I can take that step back and recharge my battery. Now, it's taken me a long time to get to this point where I can feel comfortable being in those social settings a lot, because I am a very high energy empath, but I also get drained very quickly because I feel that people will pick up on that and they will see that I have that high energy and they will literally siphon my energy. And by the time I am done with that social setting, I will come home and feel absolutely exhausted. Like, someone just hooked up those jumper cables to my battery and just drained me right out. So that's definitely a sign that you're an empath if you notice yourself feeling drained in physical settings. Now, if you're around other people who are of a similar frequency or vibration, you will notice that you're not feeling drained. You'll actually start to energize each other. And that's where you want to be as an empath, as a mastered empath, as an empowered empath. You want to be at a point where nothing affects your frequency. So I have been, working on this for many, many years now that I've actually realized that I was an empath. Now I work on mastering those skills of holding my frequency and my energy and not allowing anyone, anything, any place to siphon my energy. You treat pets like humans. So some empaths can actually communicate with pets very easily. I've got some friends who work with animals, and it's amazing how they can pick up on what's wrong with the animal immediately. And so a lot of empaths will have those abilities where they can communicate, whether it be telepathically or just through sensing or feeling where the animal may be in pain and pick up on those emotions of the animal. Like I said before, very highly sensitive, and your emotions might make you physically ill. So this is when I first started to notice that I was empathic. I was working in a hospital setting, and I began to notice that in the morning I would do my routine. I would get up, do my energy routine, eat a healthy breakfast. I sometimes would do some yoga, maybe some meditation if I had some time, and then I would go about my day. And I was feeling fantastic. Well, as I, would get into the hospital, I would notice that I would feel heavier or a denser energy around me. I might get around people and I would notice, lower back pain or maybe a pain in my side or my shoulder. And I thought, gosh, I felt fantastic this morning. Why am I feeling this pain in my body? Well, it took me a little bit to figure out that I was actually transmuting the energy of those around me. So if I was with someone and I started to feel like a right shoulder pain, I began to realize that that was not my pain. That was their pain that I was picking up on. So that's the way that my natural healing abilities started to kick in. I could pick up very easily on the emotions of others and the physical pain of others. Now, it really wasn't that fun in the beginning because, like I said, I was working in a hospital setting and I was picking up everybody's stuff and carrying it around. So I felt super light in the morning. And then by the time I got home at night, I felt so heavy. It was like I was carrying bricks on my back. I had so much pain in my body and I didn't really understand what it was. So if you are that type of empath where you pick up on other people's pain, um, that's definitely something that we will want to work on and master. And I can talk a little bit more about that in future podcasts on how I have sort of reined that in and have a better understanding of how to discern when it's my energy or someone else's energy that I have picked up. Um, so you put others' needs before your own. And this is where it falls into that people pleaser category. We just want to take care of others and we want to make everyone feel happy and comfortable in our presence. But on the flip side, oftentimes that will drain us and burn us out if we aren't applying the proper self care to take care of our own needs first. Your love is over the top. So Basically, empaths are very, very loving, almost to the extent of attracting partners that are depleted in love. So they will come to us because we have so much love to give, and then they will literally drain us of all of the love that we have, leaving us feeling uh, very exhausted in the relationship, very taken advantage of, very, very drained. And so, learning how to master and balance our energy on how we exude love, but not allow people to siphon it out of us, is also another technique or skill that's important for the empowered empath to learn. We are also human lie detectors. Now, this I have known since a very young age. I can pick up on when people are being authentic or genuine versus someone who is trying to be shady and trying to throw something past me. I have been able, it's like a bullshit meter. Like I have been able to pick that up for a very, very long time. And uh, at first I thought, gosh, is this just me being judgmental, of this person? But then I began to realize, no, I was absolutely picking up on their inauthenticity, and that was a skill of mine. That was a skill. So if you are a human lie detector, it's probably a very good chance that you are also an empath. You prefer deep conversations over small talk. I have always been that way. I just cannot stand small talk and I get very bored with it and I don't really partake in it very often. And it was really hard in situations when you're working in sales or marketing because you feel like you have to do that cheesy small talk. And I just wanted to get to the deeper, meaningful conversations with people. And as I've gotten older, I have, kind of honed that in a little bit where I don't spend my energy or exude my energy on a lot of the small talk conversations. I really do prefer having those deep, meaningful conversations. And I think a lot of it is because we have that ability to heal people and we want to get to the root cause of the pain. And I can definitely tell when people are trying to be shallow or skim the surface with things, especially in my sessions. I can really dive deep into the root cause of why people are having the issue that they're having. And oftentimes they will consciously be skirting around that subject, but on a subconscious level, I'm picking up on exactly where we need to go. And we need to deal with this emotion, not this particular situation that is on the surface level. Overthinking everything. And I think a lot of this has to play into the fact that we can pick up on other people's energies. So we often are picking up the thoughts and feelings of others around us and not really discerning if they are ours or someone else's energy. So we can have, those voices in our head or those negative self talk or doubt, those types of things can happen to us because we are picking up on the energy of others, and it often will come across as being you're too much of an overthinker. The news is painful to watch, or any abuse happening to a child, a human, an animal, it just really tears you apart. And me working in a hospital setting, it was really hard for me to see people every single day losing their loved ones. And I got to a point where I almost shut things off and I became numb to all everyone's pain because there was a point in time where I was picking up everyone's pain and it became so unbearable that I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. So my only way to cope was to numb the pain. So oftentimes empaths will actually, their souls will leave their body because when they're in their body, it's too painful to handle. So sometimes when I'm doing sessions, if I can muscle test and notice if someone has left their body, I'll call their spirit back into their body 100% so we can work with the spirit in the physical body. Anytime there's a trauma, oftentimes the spirit or the soul will shoot up out of the body. And so the body is just kind of functioning like on autopilot. And if we don't call that spirit or that soul back into the body, then that person cannot feel that physical pain and remove it and get to the deeper emotion or the deeper root cause of why that pain even exists in the first place. um, we absorb emotions. We're also really good listeners. Oftentimes we will sit and listen to people and a lot of their issues, but on the other hand, we also have to learn how to not carry those emotions for others as well. So to discern when we are picking up those energies, like those energy vampires or those garbage dumpers, those people that just kind of come in and vent on you and then they leave and feel fantastic and then you're feeling terrible because now you have picked up on all of their, you know, gucky goopy energy. And who wants that? That's not fun at all. So those are some signs that you may be empathic. So if you felt like, you know, there were several on that list that you were like, "Yep, that's me. Yes, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me." Then you probably are highly empathic. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the abilities that the empath has. And these are kind of exciting because at first, when I started to learn that I was an empath, I didn't really understand why, when I was working in the hospital, that I was seeing things, I was feeling things, I was hearing things, I was picking up on all of these things. And I just thought I was kind of going crazy. I mean, I didn't really understand, you know, why these things were happening to me. But the more I started to learn about the empath's abilities, it all started to connect the dots. It all started to come together for me. And that was fantastic because it just gave me some answers. It gave me some answers. So I had a better understanding that, wow, these are pretty cool abilities. Because at first, when you figure out you're an empath, you're just like, gosh, this is such a burden. Like, why am I picking up on everybody's stuff? And why am I, you know, crying all the time and carrying everybody's emotions around? And why do I feel this pain in my body? And, you know, what are all these voices I hear in my head? And, you know, what is that ringing in my left ear? You know, all these crazy things that are going on. And for me, it was working in the hospital. I worked in organ donation and transplantation. So I was there with those families when their loved ones were transitioning or crossing over. And through some of those experiences, I would literally see the soul exit the body, the physical body. And I would see a mist. Oftentimes, it could be a white mist, it could be a black mist. I would see entities in the room. I would hear whispers. I would feel things on my shoulder or on the back of my head. I would feel tugging, you know, on my hair sometimes. I would go home and have dreams at night, and it would be one of the organ donors who was trying to contact me to give me information for the family. And these were things that were happening regularly, and I was literally shutting them off. Not only because it was slightly terrifying at the time, but also because I was so busy and so exhausted and so drained from that job that I didn't have enough energy in me to even deal with it. So I would just shut it off. I mean, I remember times I would be in our office, which was located in the hospital, and our hours were just around the clock. You know, we there were times when I had to go in and do educational programs at 3 in the morning for the night shift. And so I was in and out of the hospital at many different hours when it was very quiet and no one was in there. And there were times when I was in the office by myself working, and it was like maybe 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and the chair at the desk next to me moved, or the door would creak open, or papers would move, you know, different types of things that were happening that I was just like, whoa, you know, which most people would probably call a paranormal experience. Well, at the time, I'd probably call it paranormal too. But the more that I've learned about these abilities, these are actually normal for us to experience. It can be slightly scary because if you can't physically see the energy there that is causing that particular paper to move or the chair to move, it can be slightly scary. But I would actually feel those energies. I could feel a tingling through my entire body. Sometimes my eyes would water. I might feel a little tingling at the base of my skull or the top of my head, and that's how I knew something was there with me. And at first, it would creep me out a little bit because I was in there by myself. But as time went on, I started to embrace it and I started to talk to them. If someone was in there with me, they probably thought I was crazy, but I was literally talking to these energies. And I would talk to the patients in the room as well, the ones who were declared brain dead. And I would have conversations with them through telepathy. And I know you're probably listening to this thing, and this is nuts. This is crazy. But if you start to learn more about your abilities and gifts, this won't feel so crazy. I'm telling you. So I'm going to go through some of they call them the clairs. Okay. There's several clairs. Now there's the basic 8, but there are more clairs. I'm going to go through them and you can kind of sense, well, which ones do I pick up on? Now, the way I explain these is some of us have stronger clairs than others. So the way I look at it as, some people have really good abilities in, say, contracting, construction. Others have really good abilities in accounting. Just because you're really, really good in accounting doesn't mean you can't learn construction. It may take a little bit of effort and a little bit of time. It may not come as easily to you as accounting, but you can learn it, and vice versa. If you're really good at construction, doesn't mean you can't learn accounting. You can, it just may not come as easily to you. But once you learn it, you will begin to master it. So some of us are really good at certain clairs. And I personally believe that we're good at those clairs because we have utilized those gifts in our past lives. And when I do my past life regressions with clients, those things will come up. It'll be something that they are noticing in this particular lifetime that they have been really, really good at in past lives. So I think over the course of all of our lives, we do learn how to tap into these abilities and how to strengthen them. So one of the abilities that I have very strongly is what's called clairaudience. And clairaudience is clear hearing. So you're like hearing sounds such as voices, maybe tapping, knocking, ringing in your ears that don't come from a physical source. So for me, the way I explain it, it's not like someone is standing next to me and, hi, Tanya, I'm here. Not it's not like someone is standing there whispering in my ear. I will just hear something inside of my head. And when I'm working with clients, oftentimes this comes up. I'll be working with someone and I hear, hi, I'm Betty. I'm so and so's grandmother. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like in my mind's eye, like in my head, I will hear a voice. And this has happened to me. I was out at a restaurant in northern Idaho with some friends, and we're all having a good time. And I feel just an energy to my left, and then I hear the name Betty in my mind, in my head. And then I visually see in my mind's eye a woman with her hair pulled back in a bun, and she has like a dark long dress on with a white lacy neck that comes up around her neck. And I'm like, oh gosh, who's Betty? Well, I'm just sitting there while my friends were all laughing and giggling and having a nice dinner. And Betty is right next to me. So then the owner of the restaurant comes up and tells me that there's a paranormal investigator coming there tonight, and they have had some experiences with paranormal activity there. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, well, I'm having an experience right now. And he goes, well, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. So I ended up staying. We had a lot of really exciting experiences there. And for me, I don't really get scared anymore. There was a time when I did get scared, but now it's kind of exciting to really master those gifts and to really kind of embrace them. I guess that it's like now it's like a challenge, like, ooh, how good can I get at this? So clear audience, clear hearing. If you hear um voices, maybe sometime you'll be driving and you just hear a voice in your head that says turn right, not left. And you're like, okay. that is your higher guidance, right? That's your higher guidance system that's communicating with you. And oftentimes it will come through that clear audience. Now, another one, this one's very common, not necessarily with me. This is one that's a little bit blocked for me. Clairvoyance or clear seeing. So that's when you're receiving images through extrasensory perception. So that's when, in your mind's eye, you're seeing images or visuals. This is where some of the mediums will see things like Long Island Medium. I believe that she sees images. Most of them will see the images in their mind's eye, and that's through that third eye chakra. So I did a video recently on the introduction to the chakra system and what. Uh, Emotions get caught up in those chakras, and clairvoyance is the third eye chakra. So I have a lot of friends who have a very open third eye chakra, and they can see auras, they see plasma waves, they see energy, they see apparitions, they see spirits, they see extraterrestrials. I mean, they see it all. And I get kind of flustered with that because I want to see it too, but the funny thing is I can feel it and I can hear it. So I do know I have those abilities to do that. I just have to focus on a little bit more. And partly I wonder if I closed off my clairvoyance when I was working in the hospital because I was seeing so much activity. And at the time, I wasn't really familiar with energy and it was really scary to me. So I partly think I closed that off. And I have been working on opening that back up. But clairvoyance is clear seeing. So, uh, clear scent is clear smelling. This is when you're receiving smells that aren't from a physical source. I have had this happen a few times. I've actually had it happen when I've worked with clients before that I will smell roses or lavender or something and I just notice it. And then I'll share it in the session and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so and so's perfume or favorite flower or whatever. I had a really strong situation with this when I was in Western New York last year. I went home about a month after my grandmother had passed, and I ended up staying in her home by myself, a very old farm home by myself for about 6 or 7 months. And she would visit me. She would visit me at night. And the way I knew it was her is she would wake me up in the middle of the night and with this strong smell of her perfume, and it wasn't on the sheets, it wasn't on anything, we had washed everything, so it wasn't like she had doused her whole place in her perfume, but it was very strong. It was like you go from not smelling it to smelling it very strongly. And the night that she visited me was the night of my birthday, so she literally woke me up with the smell of her perfume, and it was almost like it was like sprayed on my face, like it was so incredibly strong. And I got really emotional and then I felt the goosebumps and it's like I knew she was there visiting me. So I've had some friends who have had experiences where they've maybe smelled cigar smoke or cologne from a passed on relative. And so that's a very common one that people will have. Now, clairsentience. This is probably my strongest ability at this particular time. This is called clear feeling. So, this is the feeling of a sensation of goosebumps, maybe hot and cold energy, emotions, or physical ailments from those in the spirit world or those around you, picking up on other people's energy. So, this is a very powerful ability for me. I can walk into a room or a space and I literally can feel the energy. Now, someone who's clairvoyant could probably walk in and see the energy. They might be able to see the dense energy or the light energy where I literally can feel it. I will get goosebumps through my body and the way I explained it, it's like a cosmic orgasm. Everybody's like, "Woo, that must feel good." But it's literally a cosmic orgasm. Like I will feel just this rush of energy from my feet up through the top of my head, and my eyes will water. And I'm like, whoa, there is a presence here. And the stronger it is, the more powerful I feel the energy is around me. So there are some times when I will feel it, hear it, smell it, and taste it all at the same time. And you're like, whoa, I just walked into something. This is very powerful. So I can also feel this when I meet people. when I meet people that are a part of my soul tribe or my soul family, it's almost like a very powerful exchange of energy. And I've had situations where I have had that clairsentience kick in, and that other person has felt it so powerfully. And it's almost like a ripple of energy that I feel comes through me, and then it ripples right out to anybody who's around me. So it's a pretty cool ability to have. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times when my friends are like, "Ooh, I can see that person's aura." And I'm like, "Really? I can't see that person's aura." I wish I could. But there's times when I can walk up next to that person and feel their aura. So it's a pretty powerful ability to have. Now, another one is called clairgustance, and that's clear tasting. Having the taste of something in your mouth that doesn't come from a physical source. I've only had this a couple of times, and this is a funny story. I was working with a client, we were doing emotion code, and I was muscle testing through all of the different emotions, and we couldn't figure it out. We just couldn't figure out which one it was. And then I started to feel like I was sucking on a lemon, like in my mouth. It was bitter and it tasted nasty. And I'm like, oh God, and then I realized that the emotion that was trapped was bitterness. And so that's the way that it came to me. It came through the taste. And I know I've had friends who have told me that they have had experiences with loved ones who have passed on, and they can taste certain things that their mom would make or their dad would make, and it was experience for them because they knew that their loved one was in their presence. So that's a really neat ability to hone in on. Now, another one is called clairtangency, and this is called clear touch, gaining impressions from a physical object, also known as psychometry. So now, some empaths out there may enjoy going to thrift stores and antique shops, and other ones may hate going to them. I'm one of the ones that hates it. The moment I walk into a thrift store or an antique store, I literally can pick up on every single energy in the room. And it's so overwhelming to me. So I have to leave. But there are people who can actually go in and hold an object and go all the way back in time to see who owned this object. And they can utilize their clairvoyance. They may have some images in their mind's eye. They might hear voices that say who this particular energy belongs to. And I am a big believer in saging your home. There's a reason why the Native Americans sage before all of their rituals. It really does cleanse the space. It cleanses the energy of everything in your home. And I would definitely encourage you that if you have a lot of antiques or thrift store items, and you might be having some energy in your home that is unwelcome or unwanted, to sage you and your space. So you can use white sage, Palo Santo, dragon's blood. They can come in, wrapped bundles. You can get it in incense. You can actually even get it in essential oils. I love diffusing sage and Palo Santo essential oils. Those are awesome. So there's been many stories where people have had hauntings or paranormal experiences within their home and they can't figure it out. And then they realize it was something that was brought into the home, like maybe an old Civil War gun or some sort of antique dresser or, something from another time, another life, another energy that has entered the home, and that energy is taking up space in the home. So I definitely would encourage people to sage their space and their energy. And I almost do it like it's cleaning my home. I'll open up all the windows and I go around and you just sage every corner, start from the front door, go around your whole home, and just sage every nook and cranny of your home, and open up the windows for at least 30 minutes and let all of that blow out and let all of that energy move. And it doesn't just move negative energy, it moves stagnant energy. It will cleanse out viruses and bacteria in your home, and it just makes everything feel so much lighter. It really does. It really is a good pick me up and a good auric cleanser too. It'll cleanse your aura too. So now another one is clear cognizance or clear knowing. This is knowing something connected to an event or situation without being given prior knowledge or information. This one for me happens quite often, honestly. And what it will do is I'll have this clear knowing of something, and then my other abilities will kick in. Like my clear ascensience will kick in, and I'll have that cosmic, orgasm, and it'll almost be like a validation or a resonance that this is the truth. And so when you have that clear knowing, you oftentimes will question it. Like, is this really true? Uh, should I not know this, or am I predicting this, or what's happening? So what I like to do is I muscle test, and I will probably do a podcast on muscle testing, or at least a YouTube video on that, to help people have a better understanding of the absolute benefits of muscle testing. But whenever I have a clear cognizant moment, I will muscle test. Is this true? Is this truth? And it always is. It always is, because I really trust my intuition, and things uh, will kick in and tell you whether or not you resonate with that or not. So that clear knowing is a very powerful gift and ability to have, which we all have it. It's just trusting it, and really, having faith that that knowing is there, that knowing is there. So now another one is clear empathy or clear emotion. That's experiencing other living beings' emotions, including physical pain, as if it is their own. Most empaths do have this ability. Now, I call it an ability. At first, I thought it was a real pain in the rear end because, for example, I would be at the grocery store standing in line, feeling fine, and then someone would come up behind me and I would have a shooting pain down my right leg. And I'm like, oh, geez, this person has sciatic pain, or, something along those lines, or back pain or something. And I could sense and feel that person's pain in their body. And this was very difficult when I worked in the hospital, because I was picking up on everything, everything. And it made it very, very difficult, because I couldn't at the time discern what was my pain and what was someone else's pain. Now I can. I will ask my intuition, I will muscle test, I will do what I need to do. Is this mine? No. Okay, send it back to the person with love. Send it back to them with healing. And now I can immediately tell when I've picked up someone else's pain, I send it back, and then boom, it's gone. So I know that part of my ability is to transmute other people's energy, whether that be pain or just cleansing their aura or whatever it may be. I transmute their energy. And it is so at first it was a burden, and now it's a blessing. It really is, because when I'm working with clients, I can pick up on it really, really quickly. And that is really cool. I really enjoy being able to do that, because it happens so fast. And now I understand I don't have to carry it. I don't have to carry that pain for them, nor do they have to carry either. So once we get to the subconscious block and bring it to the conscious mind, we're able to clear that very easily. Now, another ability, which is fabulous, this is one of the ones that I have been really working on, is called clairkinetic. This is the ability to feel the angels, guides, and beings in other dimensions, getting a physical sensation in or on the body to indicate that another presence is making a connection. Now, this is a really awesome ability to have. When I first started learning about energies and the power of my energy, and also the power of the energy that I can invoke or bring into my space, I immediately started learning about all the different archangels. Now, ever since I was a kid, I was always gravitated towards Archangel Michael. I didn't really know who he was. I just knew that he was with me. I could feel it. Now, when I lived in Florida, I lived near a little village called Casadega, and it was a village where a lot of spiritual people will go. And I was there one time with a friend, and we all met in this big room. And this woman was giving everyone readings, and she kind of honed in on me and said, "Gosh, you have an extremely powerful energy of Archangel Michael with you." And I'm like, "Whoa, really?" Because I always sensed it, but to have someone else kind of say it, you're like, "Wow." And at that moment, I felt the cosmic orgasm go through my body. And I'm like, oh, I guess something is here with me. And there's been many a times where I have called Archangel Michael in to my space to protect me. I used to travel a lot, and I would call him into the hotel room and cleanse the room. I would call him in, I call him around my car. I literally visualize my car with angel wings on it. And every single day that I drive, I am absolutely protected. And I will tell you that there's been times when people have almost run into me, and it's almost like they energetically bounce off of my car without even physically touching it. And so we have the power and the capabilities to call in these archangels. And once I started to learn more about Michael, I got really curious about all the other ones. And so I started to learn about all of their gifts and their abilities, and I would call them in. And I do that oftentimes with clients when I'm working with clients, if they're having certain issues and I know that there's a certain higher power that I can call in, I will do that. And my gosh, there has been some times when I have called them in and it's almost like you blow out of your chair. You can feel the power of their presence and the power of their energy come in, and it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and it is so overwhelming at times. And so we do have all of these abilities and these capabilities, and if you're experiencing a lot of negative energy around you, we're not supposed to be living like Pigpen on the Peanuts gang, right? Having this dirty aura around us and getting everybody else dirty around us. We're supposed to have this beautiful, vibrant aura, whatever color it may be, a multitude of colors. Now, I've had people tell me that mine is golden, and I just joke, oh, it's because I have blonde hair, but even when I was a kid, I had a golden energy about me. We all have an aura. We all have a beautiful, vibrant aura around us. And the colors of our aura can indicate the type of person that we are. Are we nurturing? Are we a caregiver? Are we self-confident? Are we, powerful? We're all powerful in our own way, in our own unique way. So going through all of these abilities, I ask you, which ones do you have? Which ones do you notice? Maybe you haven't really taken the time to step back and consciously recognize these abilities that you have. And if you notice you have these abilities, work with them more. It's like a sport, right? It's like if you're trying to shoot a free throw and you suck at it, you can't make it, and you stay out and practice and practice and practice. And then within a week, you're making 9 out of 10 free throws. You're getting better at it. You're creating a subconscious repetition with it. And like I said, oftentimes the abilities that we have mastered them in past lives. They're ingrained in us. They're a part of our subconscious. It's just here on earth, there's such a dense energy that we don't often pick up on these senses or these energies as good as we can. So, like I said, I'm very, very clairsentient, and it's one of the most common abilities of empaths. And it's where you can walk into the room and sense the feeling or the heaviness or the lightness of others. And some may call that a burden, but honestly, I look at it as a blessing now. I get the goosebumps and the tingles, and that's really fun. I mean, that's kind of fun. I can definitely sense that. There's times I've woken up in the middle of the night and my whole body is just vibrating, and I know there's a presence there. I know it. And I can tell it's a powerful presence. And I'm not scared. I'm not in fear. I am completely in a loving, kind of blissful mindset, and you can just feel this beautiful presence around you. And it's so powerful. And the more you embrace it and you allow it in, the more it'll happen, the more it'll take place. And so you don't have to carry the burden of having these lower vibrational energies around you. It's really working on your own frequency, raising your own vibration. And I've got previous podcasts that discuss how to raise your vibration. What does that mean? And really having an understanding that you do have control over the energies that you let into your own auric field and into your own energetic space. And if there are energies in your space that you don't want in there, you can command them out. I command these energies to leave my space now. You have no power over me. I call upon Archangel Michael to surround me with his beautiful, loving light through all space, dimension, and time, or however you want to say it, however you want to present that beautiful, protective energy or layer around you. Is That's your will, that's your right to do that, and you can command any energy out of your space. So these are some of the gifts that I think that are very, very important for empaths to have a better understanding of. And within those abilities, we also have what are called psychic abilities. So once you realize what your clairs are, your strong clairs, you can also realize what your psychic abilities are. So honing in on our telepathy. Now, I've had these experiences with telepathy for a really long time. I'll get it with certain friends. Like if I'm around certain friends long enough, we literally can hone in on when we're going to call each other before we call. I can pick up on where they would want to eat before we even have discussed it. I may pick up on something they're going to say before they say it, and they may do the same for me. So, telepathy is the ability to pass on information, ideas, impressions, feelings, moods, and thoughts between living beings without the involvement of known sensory organs. So, basically, it's just that telepathic connection. And the more you practice this, just like your other abilities, the more you practice telepathy, the better that you'll get at it. So, I like to do it's like a little experiment or a little game where you sit with someone back to back and you have a card deck, and one of you will pull a card and then you really focus on that card. And then the other person with their back to you tries to telepathically guess what card is in your hand. Now, at first, you might be like, oh, this isn't working. This isn't working. But the more you practice it, you will be very surprised at how good you get at it, really, especially if you're doing it with someone who you're super close to and super connected to. So, when we're around certain people all the time, we get energetic cords to them. So, when you're corded to someone, then it makes the telepathy even stronger and even easier to do. So, on that same note, telekinesis. Telekinesis is another psychic ability. That's the movement of objects through the power of your human consciousness without the aid of any hands or other instruments that can touch the object. So, I have a little meter here that I practice my telekinesis with, and you really just focus your consciousness on the particular object to move it. I have been able to move small things like maybe a paper clip a little bit, a piece of paper in a certain, like kind of in a spiral or a circle. I have not been able to do large objects, but when I do focus on it and let go of resistance is when I notice it works a lot easier. There are times when I have been able to focus on my fan and just get it to move just a little bit, just a little bit. And so if you really put your mind to it, literally connecting to that consciousness, then telekinesis is an ability that we all have. It's just learning it and practicing it and getting better at it. Um, so in mediumship is one too. That's the where you can channel energy or pick up the energy of those on the other side of the veil. And that I think just comes with that claircognizance and that clairvoyance and clairsentience. Mediumship really ties in all the clairs, all the abilities that empaths have, and pulling it all together. And when you are getting those downloads or that information coming through, you're literally just trying to decode it for the person that you're reading, and then the energy that they are exuding through their auric field, and whatever energy you are connecting with, from one of their loved ones. And so these are just some of the abilities. There's so many more. I mean, as a kid, I was fascinated with that movie Firestarter with Drew Barrymore, and I am 100% convinced I can blow fireballs out of my hands. That's one of the abilities that I am working on. There's a show on Netflix called Raising Dion. And in season 2, Dion can shoot fireballs out of his hand. He's like a little kid that has all these abilities. And I truly do believe that we have these capabilities and these gifts. It's just that we have been taught that we don't have them, that they're superpowers, and that we just don't believe. We don't believe that we can do it. But it's so funny that as children, we know we have these abilities, but we're so conditioned and taught that we don't. So when we're in our, most purest form as children is when our gifts are the strongest. And oftentimes that's when we shut them down. As a child, you may have seen spirits or what we call ghosts or apparitions or auras, energy, and it terrified you. And so you decided to close it off, or maybe your parents told you that that's crazy, you're not seeing anything. What's wrong with you? Or maybe your friends at school were picking on you. Um, I've got some friends who said that they could smell colors and they could see colors in music. And there's so many abilities out there that I think as children, if we don't fit in, we feel odd. So then we will either be quiet about our abilities or we will shut them off. And for me, I think mine was speaking to animals. I do remember as a really, really young child having the ability to hear the animals. They would talk to me, and I was surrounded by animals all the time. We lived in a very small town out in the woods. I lived on a river, and I could hear all of the animals, and they would talk to me. And I remember this. I would have full-blown conversations with the kids. It was like Snow White. I was out there just chatting it up with the deer and the squirrels and the bunnies and and now it's like as time went on, I just closed that off. And I have a cat now, and it's funny because I will literally pick up on things that he needs or says, but it's not through the same way as I did as a child. It's more that clairaudience. I'll hear what he needs or what he's wanting, and then I'll respond to it. So it's just a little bit different now. But it's pretty neat. Look back at your childhood and ask yourself, what types of abilities did I recognize as a child? And try to go back to that time and work on those abilities again. Work on opening them up again and practicing them and trusting it. I think that's half the battle, is trusting it when it happens. Because oftentimes we blow it off and say it's something else, like, oh, I got the chills. I just had the chills, but now I understand that you don't just get the chills 100 times a day. It's like I'm having a lot of contact or a lot of energy that's rolling through my body. Or, oh, that's just voices in your head. You're bipolar. No, those are, guidance systems. That's information coming through to you. Oftentimes that's your higher self guiding you and directing you in a certain direction. So I do encourage you to go back and look at your childhood and ask yourself, what types of abilities did I have and how do I enhance those now? So I hope that this episode was informational to say the least. And I really do encourage you as an empath to look at it more of a blessing than a burden, because we really are extremely powerful. We just have to learn. We have to learn how to use these abilities and run our avatar, run our bodies. We've been taught to really shut off a lot of these extrasensory gifts, and it's really difficult sometimes as an adult to tap back into these. But once you do, it's like riding a bike. It's like, oh, at first it's a little tough, but it's like once you get back on the horse again, you're like, all right, I got this, and I'm really enhancing it. And to not look at yourself as weird. I think that was one of my biggest hardest things, was that, gosh, people are going to think I'm weird. But at this point, I don't care anymore if people think I'm weird. I just know that this is pretty cool. If I have some superhuman powers, then I'm all about that. I mean, that's amazing to me. And each and every one of you has superhuman powers. You just have to believe that you do. So I encourage you to tap into that. And I'm really excited to share some more exciting topics in some future episodes. Have a good one, everybody, and continue to shine your light bright. You deserve to navigate your life as an empath in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.thesoulcafe.org.